Welcome back to episode 35. We're going to continue with object-oriented programming, and we're going to discuss what are known as friend functions. So a friend function is a function that is allowed to access the private and public parts of a class without being part of that class. So let's go ahead and see this here. So what we're going to do, first off, we have a new attribute called name, because every human has a name. And we created a setter and a getter for that. And now we're going to create a friend function. So what's kind of weird about friend functions is you declare them inside of the class. So the only reason we do this is so that we know which class is associated with the friend function. So we're going to create a function that prints out the name of a human object. So we're going to have a return type of void, and it's just going to be called print name, and we're going to pass in that human object. So we'll say human, and then we'll just say h as the object name, and then we'll go ahead and define this. And here's where we'll see our first difference. So we'll define this in the same file as our class definitions. And this isn't going to be a class definition, even though the declaration is inside the class. It's just going to be a function declaration. So we can see this because we don't need to put the class name and then the scope resolution operator. We can just say the name of the function. Now we can go ahead and define this here. And we can just print this to the screen. We'll say name and then colon, and then print out the name of the human. So we'll say get name like that using the getter, and then we'll end the line like that. Now we need to close that off, save the file. Now in our main, what we can do is we can go ahead and set the name here. So first off, let's go ahead and change our constructor. So we'll go in here and add one more parameter, and we'll say string name, or we'll just call it s again. And then we'll go ahead and copy that and put it in our definition as well, which I believe is right. Let's find it here. It's right here. So we can go ahead and paste that in there, and then we can say, we should probably actually change the name of that so it's not the same. We have to actually. So we'll just call it n, and then we'll go ahead and change it over here as well. Now we can say name is equal to n. So name equal to n, and now we can go ahead and actually set this name. So we'll go ahead and pass in a name here in our constructor. So we'll say Bob, and then we'll go ahead and call that friend function. So instead of saying h1.print name, since this is a friend function, we can just call the function by its name. So print name, and then pass in the object we want to print the name of. So we'll save all of these files here, and we'll go ahead and compile this in the command prompt using the MinGW compiler. We'll link it and run it here. So there you can see name is Bob. Color, I colored blue, and so on and so forth. The important thing to understand here is that this function print name is not a part of the class human, it's just associated with it. So that's all well and good having this function print use the getter, but we can do that with any function. So what's the advantage of using a friend function over just a regular function? Because in a regular function we can do all of this stuff. Well, in a friend function, like I said, it can access the attributes, the private stuff directly, so it doesn't need to use the getter. So what we can do here is go into our friend function and just say h.name. So that's a private attribute, and we can do this since print name is a friend of the human class. So let's save that, and we'll go ahead and compile this here. There we go, and then we'll go ahead and relink it, and we'll go ahead and run it. And there you go, it still works. So the advantage of a friend function is it's able to access the private attributes and methods as well.